Hey, Mech Warriors, welcome to Bad Ben's Battle Mechs. I'm Bad Ben, and today I want to give my review of Battletech Aces Scouring Sands. Before I get into anything, I want to say something that I actually forgot to say in my last video entirely, and I want to say it before I forget. And that is that Battletech Aces is an expansion pack. It's only an expansion pack for Battletech Alpha Strike. So you must first own Battletech Alpha Strike if you want to play Battletech Aces Scouring Sands or any Aces game. Right? So that's out of the way. And next, I actually want to start out my review by giving a conclusion, because I know a lot of people don't want to sit here and listen to me say a whole bunch of things. They just want to hear yes, no, should I buy it, thumbs up, thumbs down. And for me, this is a huge 2 thumbs up. I can recommend this. Absolutely. I really, really enjoyed this box. I'd say this is the best box set that I've gotten from Battletech in a very long time. So, into the actual review. We're going to break it down into 2 parts. AI and the campaign, because those are the 2 main components of the Battletech Aces box. And just a word on that, actually. I think a lot of people are thinking of buying Aces just for the AI. That's the main thing that people are interested in, so they can have single-player games or cooperative games. But don't neglect the campaign, all right? The campaign in this is so good, I can absolutely recommend it. But we're not talking about the campaign, we're talking about the AI. And I don't even know what to say about the AI. It's really good. It works really, really well. So if you remember, if you don't remember, that's okay. Back in March 2023, when they started the Kickstarter campaign for the Mercenaries box, they released these cards. This was like a Aces beta that everybody could try out. And I tried it out and it worked. These worked pretty well. And so these new cards work on a similar concept. It's not completely different from this. It's more like they took this and then they built on that and they added a lot of extra stuff. So if you see here, there's only one, column of things that the enemy mech should do, whereas on this one you have 3. You have for aggressive and balanced and cautious. And here they use a lot more symbols, and don't worry about that. At first it can be a little daunting, I know, but they include some tutorials. There are 2 tutorial missions to play. The first really isn't a mission that you play, but a mission that they kind of show you step by step what would happen according to the cards. And it's really good. It's really well done to teach you the system. The second tutorial is a mission, and it's actually super fun. Just that tutorial mission is very fun. So yes, we have these cards. But on top of that, for the AI, you also get these commander cards. This is a bad one because it says none there, but I'll look for one. Here. Doesn't matter. And they'll have order sections that will give them, a lot of the time it'll say assign the move last token to your unit with this and that. And you don't think that that's going to alter how things are done, but that just putting the move last when they've won initiative. And like one time they put the move last token on their fastest guy. I lost initiative. So they had the final move, and there's like, you find yourself being surprised and outmaneuvered more than I like to admit, if I'm honest. And you find like there's just nothing you can do. They have, what's also great is the mechs that they include that go with the cards. They work so well. I want to find this bastard right here, the Rifleman C2, okay? With this card, the Skirmisher Jump Strong card, this guy gets this deck and has a jump distance of 18 inches. And that, it just works so well. He's so hard to hit. He gets into cover. Yeah. Very impressed. And there's more. What else? So even on the back, so you have where you should go to, and then a different thing that says who you should hit, right? And you might notice this, it says red here. You can't really read it, but it's red and it says red. And that's basically telling them go shoot at the red guy. And that brings me to the next point of how the AI works, and something that just, it's genius is this color coded. So you see on the commander card, you have red, yellow, and blue, and they, that will designate one of your mechs red and one yellow and one blue. It doesn't actually even always have to be a different mechs. It can be the same that red and yellow are both pointing at the same mech, and so one mech might have red and yellow. Or I've even had situations where one unit had all three tokens on them, and then, as you can imagine, the card says, and like so many cards, you'll flip it over and say, go after the red guy, shoot the red guy, that's who you want to hit. And they can take down your units efficiently, really efficiently. They put up a good battle. All the fights were fun. Yeah, but that color coding system brings me to my only kind of like minor gripe is that they have this color code system, and they don't. These are not included. These two things are something that I have a blue one around here somewhere too. I don't know where it is. These should have been included so that you can like say, oh, my Mad Cat, he fits the yellow description. He's going to be yellow, and then I can just look at the table. Oh, that's the yellow one. That's who the enemy is trying to go after this turn, or whatever, right? So that's really my only thing I can even say somewhat negatively about how the AI works. One of the other genius things about the AI is that it does make mistakes too. And it's supposed to make mistakes. And in the first tutorial, they'll show you a situation where a mech follows the instructions on its card to the letter, and it goes wrong and gets an enemy in its back. And that's good that they show you that in the tutorial, so you know, okay, I should follow these to the letter. And you should allow them to make mistakes when they do, because they don't often make mistakes, right? So yeah, the AI, there's almost nothing I can say negatively about how the AI works. It's going to give you great games. It's going to make great opponents. It'll surprise you. There are situations where you look at the card and you go like you can kind of screw with them a little bit. For example, I brought a Savannah Master that had a movement of 26, and often the blue target will be your fastest, and like you could pull the guys around the map if you want to, chasing something they'll never hit. And you get into those situations sometimes. But I didn't really. I used my Savannah Master on one, maybe two missions. So yeah, I guess it's not 100% perfect, or like, and so if my Savannah Master's on the other side of the map, hiding behind a rock that this unit will never be able to, get behind, and moving towards the blue unit will cause it to completely expose itself to everybody else. I guess you can kind of game it a little bit if you want, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't do that. And also, you think, well, okay, you read the car, you see what it wants to do, and like that's such a mistake that I don't believe that this pilot would do this, and then I'll just choose something better to do, honestly, because it feels like cheating if you game the AI like that. Anyway, so yes, that's what I have to say about the AI. It works pretty well. Moving on to the campaign. This campaign, okay, no. I want to start by talking about previous campaign systems that Battletech has had. Now, I don't know I didn't go and do a bunch of research about all the different campaign systems and when they came out and so on and so forth. But basically, you had the old style classic campaign that came out, I guess, in campaign operations. That's where you can find it today in campaign operations. It is so absurdly complicated and heavy, so many numbers. It's so complicated that some people got together and made a computer program to help you with that system. And that computer program itself is still too complicated. I'm talking about MegaMech HQ. If anybody is familiar. So I feel like this is something that has plagued Battletech, the complexity of the bookkeeping in their campaigns. And they realized this too. They knew that. And so they came out with the Chaos campaign. There was an earlier version of the Chaos campaign that was very much bare bones, and they kind of revamped it more recently in the Battletech Mercenaries box, this one here, that came with campaign rules to run your mercenary campaign. And then they came out with Hotspots Hinterlands, which used essentially the same rules and gave you a bunch of missions to do and contracts and so on and so forth and stuff like that. That was their attempt at streamlining the campaign system. Compared to Aces, this is the Mercenaries campaign system, or the Chaos campaign system that they have today is garbage. I'm so sorry to the people who designed this campaign system for Mercenaries, but Catalyst, get rid of it. Forget it. Forget this entire system and your whole, if you were going to come out with more books like Hotspots Hinterlands, don't push that system anymore. This is the future. This is so much better. It is so much better streamlined. For example, the bookkeeping. The bookkeeping is what has plagued Battletech campaign systems. And I want to show you the bookkeeping for an Aces campaign. Okay, so each one of these is one mission, right? So if I finish a mission, I write which number mission I did, how much income you got. You can change it by percentage, and you write your total income. And then you just have these boxes. And for rearming, for example, I have a 5 because 5 of my units didn't have. No, it wasn't 5 of my units. Yes, 5 of my units didn't have the ENE ability, so you put 5 times 20 is 100. So easy. You just count the number of units that don't have ENE that you used. You got to rearm them with missiles and, shells and so on. Then you come down to repairs. Repairs have always been so difficult. This is so much easier. You add up the different sizes, right? So here I had 1 assault mech that had been destroyed during the battle. So that's a size of 4. If I had 1 assault mech and 1 medium mech, I would add those together and put a 6. Multiply that by 100, it would have been 600. So easy. Same for crippled units. In any structure damage or criticals, or then only armor damage. You can see I had a 15. So the size of all of my units that had armor damage together was 15. Multiply that by 20. That's 300. You add together that in your total expenses. You subtract it from that, and there you go. Bob's your uncle. It takes 3 minutes. Once you get used to it, like, it's the easiest system in the world. Then, that's not exactly the complete end, but it's not much more. I'm going to show you here. So you take that number that you got, and that comes to your total income here, right? This is the amount that you pay to your named pilots. That's going to be a set amount for each mission. They'll tell you what it is. Then minus any purchases if you want to purchase new units, which I did multiple times. That's one of the funnest things, is going through my Alpha Strike deck saying, oh, what unit do I actually want to get? And I would sell a unit and then buy a new one. In the campaign book, I'll say this, in the campaign book, they have a list of units to buy, which is an optional rule. Because, I don't have those units. There was like Phoenix Hawk C2 or 2C or whatever, all models that I didn't have. But they make it clear that's an optional rule. You can also just buy any units that you have. And that's what I did. I would just sit here at night going through all my units saying, I should sell my this and then buy that instead. And that was a lot of fun. So that's like the bookkeeping problem in Battletech is solved, and this is the way of the future. This is how it should continue. Forget this box set. I'm so sorry, but the campaign system in this, not good. Now that I've played, now that I know how good a campaign system can be, forget everything else. So, what about the campaign? Why is it so good? It's almost hard to explain. It keeps you engaged well. The waypoint system. You have waypoints. Here, I'll show you a waypoint. Here's an example. On one side, it looks like that. On one side, it looks like that. So waypoints might be, not always, laid out on the map. And for example, when one of your units approaches that waypoint, flip it over, and then you'll go into the book. So if I'm on mission 5, I go to 5, read H, and an event will happen that which is cool because if you've set up your map accurately with the hills in the right spot and the trees and so on, it can be specific to that mech and where it is on the map and what's happening to it. I don't want to tell you anything. I don't want to tell you anything about what might happen to your mech and that it's going to be bad or that it's going to be good. It definitely can be both. But that's not only the only way that the waypoints are, revealed. They could be on enemy units, and when that enemy unit gets destroyed, you reveal its waypoint, read something about what happened. It's neat. I loved it. It kept me engaged in games of Alpha Strike, that, like, in a way that I've never actually been engaged. And on top of that is just like the different missions. It's not just go out and destroy the enemy. They have objectives. They have secondary objectives. And sometimes when you've completed your objective, you want to get the heck out of Dodge. Save as much of your armor as possible. And every mission was kind of unique. I'm not going to say every mission was completely unique. There were, things, trends, and so on. But that didn't take away from it very much. And the little bit of story that they give you at the beginning of the mission that you read in that campaign book, it's light. Imagine if you do a whole campaign, it would be like a light short story. It's not going to get like super deep into characters and so on, but it's definitely enough to keep you engaged in the game that you're playing, and give you this kind of image, and it helps with the whole movie in your mind, so to say. So I loved the campaign. I thought it was fantastic. I almost couldn't put it down. It was one of those things. It's like when you get a really good book, and at just every moment that you get free, you sit down and read. But for me, it was this board game. And like, thinking about it, I've never had a board gaming, war gaming, tabletop experience like this ever. I've never played a solo board game before. So maybe I don't know what I'm missing. Maybe solo board games are just the best thing. And I did play this solo. I played it solo because I planned on playing it with my kids, and I still plan on playing with my kids, but they don't have time. They're in school. They got plans, and I would have to wait till like the weekend to play one match with them, and then have to wait until maybe they have time later. We'll do that, but I couldn't wait. I was like, no, I just got to do this. It kept me engaged in a way that, that I've never really experienced in board gaming before, or tabletop wargaming at all. Usually when we play Battletech, we have one battle and that's it, and somebody wins and somebody loses. It's not anymore. This is how I play Battletech now. This is how I'm going to continue to play Battletech. And I'm going to do another campaign and start from the beginning again. And this is cool, just on that note, starting again, is here. So, for example, here is a pilot card. Here's The Rock. He was my tank pilot, or tank driver, I guess. And you can see he's got a skill of 3, 2 edge tokens, and 1 edge ability. That's as much skill as I could have gotten in this campaign put together. So it has numbers here to get all the way to 0 skill, which would be amazing. But you can't get to 0 in one campaign. So it encourages you to use your team and have another go at it and increase the difficulty. And that's a neat Aspect 2 is here you can see difficulty modifier for SP earned. So the way that you change the difficulty of the missions is by taking a percentage only of your earnings, right? And so the difficulty is more in the meta game, keeping your mech warrior crew going, keeping your mechs alive, keeping your crew alive. It doesn't really seem to have like maybe I got to read it again, but like difficulty modifiers for the actual missions themselves. But that would be easy as pie. Simply up all the enemies' skill by 1, right? That would be one way to go about it. So yeah, it's replayable is a great thing. So what didn't I like? It's it's not so. There are a few things that I thought maybe hard to say that this is definitely a negative. I've got one negative. A lot of the other ones are, for example, the area needed. Here you can see the table that I've got set up. They recommend an area of 48 inches by 48 inches. That's a pretty big space, and that's going to take up a whole lot of room. And that's only for the board, right? You'll have Alpha Strike cards. You need tons of Alpha Strike cards for every mission. And these missions can be big with like, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 units on the board. Maybe more. I don't know. I haven't even played every mission. So that's one thing, is that it takes a lot of space. Now, if you can get that space, you're going to have a good time with it. So that's why it's kind of like a negative. It's kind of, it might be a negative for you. It might not be a negative. They do say that the smallest area that you can play on is 36 by 36. Now, my table here that I've got is actually 39.5 inches by 60 inches. So I can kind of cut off the 60 inches and, at 48. So basically I have a table that's 48 by 39.5. And it worked. It was fine. I squeezed it in one direction, and I would change the direction that I squeezed it in, either east to west, north to south, depending on what's more important for that mission, which direction is more important. For example, like a mission where both teams start on the southern side and need to race to the northern side, then I would orient north to south to get the full 48 inches, to get that's the main point of the game. And then I would squeeze it east to west just a little bit. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Another thing that isn't a negative, but I could see annoying some people, is the terrain. The terrain, I mean, yeah, it's just cardboard boxes that kind of look like rocks. And you say, well, whatever, I got my own terrain. Yeah, that's where, if you want to play aces accurately, which you don't have to. I'm not saying like you have to play it accurately or it's not going to be good. I don't care. I don't care how you play it. But if that's important to you, if you want to play it accurately, the way the maps are set up, you got to use this stuff. You have to use these shapes to get the exact map that they have in the campaign book, right? You also have to use the buildings that come in the Alpha Strike box. Trees, I mean, you could use different trees. There's nothing saying that you have to use these trees exactly, but the buildings are specific dimensions. I heard that Hextech has like a line of buildings that are the exact dimensions of the Alpha Strike box set, and those would work perfectly. Those would be really good, for sure. Yeah, there's no substitution for a rock that looks exactly like this. You know what I mean? It's kind of, But on the other hand, I used all of this terrain and it didn't bother me. It doesn't, like, I do have better looking, I've made hills and stuff, but they don't look anything like this. And it would have looked better, maybe, I guess, possibly. In the end, it didn't really matter all that much to me. I liked having the map accurate to the map in the book. That was important to me. And so I used it, and it's good because like they do set it up in a way that is interesting and forces you to do this versus that and so on and so forth. So yeah, the terrain, it works. It really works fine. It doesn't look the best. And if you want to play it accurately, you're kind of going to have to use it. That's all. What else? What are other gripes? It's just, well, I mean, this is another thing that's not negative, but some people be like, oh, is that it takes time. It is a complex and big game. My entire campaign took me a week to get through. And I played every single day. I played a mission every day. I think I played 2 missions one day. At least one day I played 2 missions. I'm not really even sure anymore. It's all kind of this blur from now. But it takes time. And that brings me to the one thing that I think I don't understand and I think is actually a pretty big negative, and people you should use an alternative method, is that they tell you in the I don't know if it's in the rule book or in the campaign book, that you must use multiple rolls for each attack that a mech makes. So, for example, my Blood Ass does 8 damage at short range and medium range. And they want me to roll 2d6 8 times, right? Because of the crit rule or something. I don't even know. I don't really even know exactly. Maybe I didn't read it properly, but that's too much. What is a perfect alternative, and is the way that I always roll my dice anyways, is the pilot dice method, right? And what bugs me is they could have said that in the book. I think other people who don't know about the pilot dice method are going to think, like, I got to roll 8 times for each time my Blood Ass shoots. That's too much. And the pilot dice method gets rid of that perfectly. If you don't, I'll show you. I'll do a pilot dice demonstration real quick. So I have here 1 green die and 4 white dice. This is what I would roll if my mech can do 4 damage, right? So 1 white die for each damage that your unit can do, and 1 extra die that will be the pilot die. And let's say I need 7s to hit, and I roll. Okay, I can see 2 plus 6, that's 7, that's 8, that's more, that's a hit, this is a hit, that's a miss, right? 2 plus 3 is only 5, so out of the 4 damage, I would have done 3 damage. And that works perfectly with the campaign book, with the campaign that comes in the box. And I don't know why they don't say that, because doing this, 2, 3, 4, and remembering each time you roll, like, come on, guys, that sucks. So if you're buying this, don't do that. Use the pilot dice method. 4, oh, look, I needed 6s. Here, that's a hit, that's a miss, and a miss. So much faster. That is one thing that I think they should either, change in their book. There was other things. So, yes. Also, this is another kind of gripe, but like negative, but not really negative, is just the complexity of the entire thing is a lot. It's heavy. There's a lot of cards out on the tables, and remembering everything every time can get difficult. You'll forget things. One of the things, so for example, heat. On every card, I forgot to mention this, but I was talking about, but here at the bottom, it'll tell you rules for if this unit should overheat or not. Like I kept forgetting to use this when it was applicable. And so, yeah, that's just the complexity thing. Some people love a lot of complexity. So that's why I say it's not really a negative. Some people look at that and go, oh, it's even got rules for heat. I love it. The other thing that I found was too much for me to think about every single turn were these edge abilities. So you can give your named pilots edge abilities. And this isn't a negative at all, but just I kept forgetting to use it. There's so much complexity to the game that this was just too much for my brain to handle every single time. And because the pilot who has that edge ability may pilot a different mech in one of the missions, then you forget which mech has the ability and you use the other one, and you go to use the ability and you're like, it's that, it's the wrong mech. Or something, or just like after you've done your hit, you say, I could have applied my edge ability to that. I completely forgot. And there's a lot of them, and remembering what each one does every time and how it works and is it applicable this time, that was a little much for my little brain to remember every time. And I kept figuring it out, forgetting to do it. This is a negative, sort of, because it's not really very impactful, but I saw one typo, like misprint of a thing. I'm actually going to find it. I'm actually going to tell you what it is right now. It's in the 14 mission 14. I won't even tell you, but on page 49, they list the opposing force as numbers 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they forgot the 3. And then if you look at the map and how you're supposed to set it up, you're like, okay, well, who the heck's supposed to be 3? That's an obvious typo. It's supposed to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and that I came across that one. There are probably other ones. There might be other ones in the book. Probably are. So that's a thing. Typos are never positive. It's always a negative. But it's not full of typos. It's not on the same level that Hotspot's Hinterlands was, which was just atrocious in the mistakes and so on and so forth. And that will bring me to the last. I can't call this a negative. I don't know if this is a mistake, and I don't know. I just really don't know anything at all. No. So I remember in that hearing that there are 4 different endings to the campaign, which is cool. I like different endings. You can redo it, replayable. And so when I got to the end of the book, I saw these 4 different paragraphs that said at the beginning, if you have the keyword such and such, read this. If you have the keyword such and such, read that, right? 1 for each paragraph. This is what I'm assuming are the 4 different endings. What's very interesting about my playthrough is I didn't get any of those keywords. It's not like I didn't get keywords. I got keywords, but I didn't get any keywords that would lead me to one of those endings. Which I don't know if that's a mistake. I don't know if that's intentional. it's interesting, but that kind of means, I suppose, that there's 5 different endings, because the way I played it, I got none of those. And I know that I can play it again and get, I think, each one of those. What I'm concerned about is that there's actually a mistake in the way the sorties are laid out, and there are actually supposed to only be 4 endings, and I was supposed to get one of those keywords, and this might be a mistake. In that case, it might be even a pretty drastic mistake if the sorties aren't laid out in the way that they thought. But I don't know that. I would have to go through the whole book and see which sorties link to the next sortie to see, is everything possible, or is there maybe a mistake here? I don't know. I'm assuming that there's no mistake. I'm assuming that that's not a mistake, and it doesn't really matter. I don't care about one of those 4 endings. It didn't bother me. I had an absolute blast. There is one paragraph of text that you read that doesn't have any, you don't need any keywords to read that. But I just imagine that was, the first paragraph that everybody reads, and then you go on and read the ending that you're supposed to get. I didn't read any of them because I kind of want to keep them as a surprise. Anyway, this is getting way, way too long. I'm sorry about that, but that's why I told you that I liked it so much at the beginning, and that I can absolutely recommend buying Battletech Ace's Scouring Sands. It's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. I had so much fun over the last week. I can only recommend it. Yeah, so that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I guess hope to see you next time. Have a good one, and bye-bye.